To change the tire, all we really need is a tube, and then one of these tire levers really helps. You can do it without one of these, but this makes the job insanely easier. The first thing we're gonna do is look at our quick release. We have to take off our front tire. We already know how to do that. Open it up, lefty-loosey, pop the brake out, and I'm going to go ahead and remove the tire. We're gonna pretend like this is flat, and we will go ahead and change this. So I'm gonna go ahead and deflate it a little bit. There's my flat tire. So if I have a flat tire, I need to get the tube out, right? This is the tire, this is the wheel, and the inner tube is inside there. So with this little hook, I can position it, then I'm going to try to hook the tire so that I can pop it out around the outer rim. My tire and then my flat tube. I'm going to get a new tube, and it's not going to come with any air in it, so I need to put a little bit of air in it so that just so it has form, and the form makes it a lot easier to put it on the actual rim inside the tire. So we're going to actually put a little bit of air into this. We first have to take the dust cap off. Again, this doesn't block the airflow or anything, it's to stop dirt and dust and debris from going inside that area. Do not lose this, place it somewhere where you're not going to lose it. And we're going to pump some air into this to give it some form. That's all I really need. I can do the rest whenever I assemble the wheel back together. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to actually put this into the tire. Now, before putting the tube back into the tire, make sure there's nothing in it that caused the flat in the first place. If you have a piece of glass that poked through, you want to make sure that piece of glass isn't still there. So I look on the outside first. That way, if there's anything that's very noticeable that I can pull out, I'm not going to hurt myself. Then I'm going to look on the inside, and if I'm wearing gloves, I can run my hands along the inside to make sure there's nothing in there. We are good. I'm then going to place the tube inside the tire. And I'm going to make sure that it's nice in there because I don't want anything to pop. From here, I take the rim and I'm going to find where my air valve is going to go. I have the air valve coming through. I'm going to try to tuck one side of the tire into the rim. Once I have one side tucked, I'm going to make sure I hold on to the air valve to not lose it. Now I'm going to just tuck that other side in with my tool. From here, I can go ahead and pump this tire up. I'm going to set my tire to 45 psi because I'm going to be riding on some streets. We have a new tube in our tire. Go ahead and find that dust cap. Put it back on there. Line up our quick release. Make sure we fit our wheel back in there properly. Engage our front brake. Make sure these bars are in position. Tucked behind there to open up that brake. We're going to make sure there's no rubbing of the brake. I'm going to test my brake. We're good there. Again, I'm locked down. And I have a bike ready to go. So the first thing about changing the flat is you have to know where your flat is. You have to know where your gear is. And my Civic, which is the car we're going to work on today, my flat and all the stuff is in my trunk. Grab my tools out of there. And then this comes off just a little lefty-loosey. And do not lose that as I take the tire out. My spare tire, this is called a donut. A littler tire, donut. And I have my jack right there. And the other thing, I have a 4-way tire iron. 4-way tire iron makes it so much easier than having a simple one. There are my tools. Not the Spider-Man, not the web shooter. They're my tools that I'm gonna have in my trunk at all times. We're gonna pretend like our left rear tire is flat today. So this is my flat tire. And what I first need to do is I need to find out where I'm gonna position my jack. So right there is where I have a spot for it, right in front of my tire. So that's where I'm gonna place my jack. Again, I'm not gonna use my floor jack because that's not what I'm gonna have with me on the trip. So this one I'm gonna have with me on the trip. Before I place it there, I wanna go ahead and open it up as much as I can, get as high as I can before using the tool. I'm in place, you can see I have some shaking, so I'm just gonna tighten it where I have some pressure on the car. But at this point, I wanna go ahead and loosen up my lug nuts. These are my lug nuts, and if I wait until I raise the car to loosen them, then the tire can spin. With it on the ground here, I can loosen these up beforehand. This is where my 4-way tire iron comes into play. I'm gonna find the right size, in which case on my wheel, I'm looking for a 19 millimeter. And if you don't know which size it is, that's fine. Just test out different sizes. If they're too big, they just won't work, or you'll feel some kind of play in them. What I like to do is I start out with the smallest size, and if that's not gonna fit, I go up one size, and I know it's right there. I like to find a place where it's pretty much perpendicular to the ground. If anything, I want it slightly pointed up because the biggest push is gonna be this initial push to get it going. And sometimes I might need to step on it. But from here, I'm just gonna loosen up each one of the lug nuts. Okay, now I'm loose with this, so now I'm gonna work on the jack. Now to get the jack to raise up, I'm going to tighten this, because the more I tighten this, the more these come closer together, which then raises up the car. Okay, so I'm righty-tighty on this, again, to tighten this up, to raise this. I'm not gonna do this with my hand and the whole weight of my car. The tool that comes with your jack has a little hook on it. Now, this can be a pain if you just want to raise your car. You have to go like this. A lot of jacks, however, I can hook in, make sure I don't pull that out. So I'm going to kind of push in a little bit as I rotate righty-tighty to then raise my car. You do not need to raise your car a ton. All you need to do is raise it enough where your wheel is off the ground. Because once it's off the ground, you can replace your tire, and your donut or your spare, in my case, is smaller than this tire is here. If you are replacing with a full size, get it off the ground a little bit. Since the tire is flat, it's not gonna be as big as the full size tire that you have. Since I do have some clearance there, I am good to start changing this tire. From here, I need to get the whole wheel off. So I'm gonna take these lug nuts all the way out. Do not lose the lug nuts. Do not let them roll away. If you are out somewhere, put them somewhere you are not going to lose them. Right now, I'm just keeping all mine on the wheel as I loosen it the whole way. From here, I can hand unscrew my lug nuts, drop them into my hand so I do not lose them. Like that. From here, put these somewhere you are not going to lose them. From here, I'm going to go ahead and take the hubcap off and take the tire off. Okay, so when your wheel is stuck and your wheel's stuck against the brake, I have another tool I have to keep. So I keep a rubber mallet, and by hitting it, I hope to break it free. If that still does not break it free, I'm gonna go back to my lug nuts. I'm gonna throw a couple of these on. Not fully or anything, just preventative. And put them across from each other, at least skip one. And then I'm gonna come behind the wheel, try to break that free without hitting other parts of my car. Lug nuts and see if I did the job. Don't lose those lug nuts. I had two. I just got two right now. I'm going to go ahead and locate the problem. So whether it was a rock or a glass or a nail especially, I'm going to want to locate it so that when I do get it fixed, it's just easier. Out with the old and in with the new. With the donut or the spare tire, I'm just locating which side goes to the outside. The easiest way to do that is find the stem. Okay, find out where you're going to put air into your tire. That has to be on the outside. After that, I take my lug nuts, and my main goal is just to get them on the car. I do not want to lose those lug nuts. So I'm not worried about how tight they're getting right now. I'm just like, get them on, get them on, get them on. Once I have them on, I'll go back to my 4-way tire iron, and I will start going one by one, and I'll skip a lug nut in between each one. That way I'm putting the wheel on even. That, I think, is an important step. And I go through that very slow, and then I go back and I go ahead and crank them down from there. Once I have cranked them down all the way, I am able to start lowering the car back down from the jack using the opposite direction now. So now I'm going lefty-loosey until I can pull the jack all the way out, and now I have a car ready to ride. An important thing to notice, though, about riding on a donut or a spare is those tires are not meant to be driven on for a very long period of time or a fast speed. So be cautious.